It's time to start your morning by taking 5. Here's your host, Matt McMaster.
You're listening to Take 5, quick 5-minute take on the biggest things happening in Nebraska sports. I'm your host, Matt McMaster. A NBA champion was crowned yesterday. Let's recap and talk about the dawn of a new season upon us with not upon us, but now technically beginning in 7 days with the NBA draft, and talk about the future of the NBA, the future stars of the NBA, and what happened yesterday dictates what happens next season. Because I first want to talk about this before we get to the main story. I'm bearing the lead here. Oklahoma City, incredible team. 68-14 this season. Did a great job going through the playoffs, had some adversity, had to play Game 7 against Denver, handled Minnesota fairly well, had to go to 7 games against Indiana. This was definitely a team that was really, it's a great team, but you definitely could tell that they were battling through having the lack of true championship experience at times in this playoffs, but they were just so good that they were able to go through those lumps and go through the ups and go through the downs and still come out very victorious. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a top 5 player in the NBA. He's an absolute superstar. He proved that best player on a championship team. I was super impressed by Chet Holmgren, the game that he played yesterday. He won that game, in my opinion, for the Thunder. There were moments where maybe you doubted his spot in the series and whether or not he could be a contributing player in the series, because Miles Turner seemed like he was having his way with him at times throughout this 7 games. But he came through. He stepped up. He was incredible on the glass. He was incredible on the boards. Just that entire team was great on the offensive boards, got themselves multiple opportunities, some great defense. I think that the referees gave him a lot of leeway in order to hand check and be aggressive on the ball, and credit to Mark Dagno. He made sure his guys knew that, and they used that aggressiveness, and they were able to play some really great defense, forced over 20 turnovers to the Indiana Pacers. So credit to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They are champions. They deserve to be champions. No one deserves a championship more than Sam Presti, who's had to battle through a lot of things as a general manager, dealing with plenty of egos and drama, and having Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook and being so close to winning a title, and then having to restart essentially and trade a bunch of pieces, and thinking you have Paul George doesn't want to be here anymore, and was able to turn that into SGA. And so, this is a team that returns every single guy in the roster. They're below the luxury tax, and they have 2 first-round picks this year, and they have multiple first-round picks the next year, too. So it's a team that is great, that could potentially get better, which is crazy to think about. Now, let's talk about the Indiana Pacers. I'm not going to put an asterisk on this series or on this championship. The game is different in terms of flow if Tyrese Halliburton doesn't tear his Achilles 7 minutes into the game. I don't know if OKC necessarily, or I don't know if Indiana wins the game. I'm not going to make that bold of a statement that the Pacers would have won the championship if Halliburton was out there, but it definitely made a difference. When you turn the ball over 20 times like they did, it tells me that you had a lack of ball handling. You had a tough time getting into the offense. And I think that when you don't have Halliburton out there, I don't know if you can consistently go to Nembhard and McConnell for setting up the offense and getting into sets. And it definitely at times was very clear that they were missing Halliburton's ball handling, but also his three-point shooting. He had 9 points in 7 minutes. He had made 2 3-pointers. He looked like he was sharp. He looked like he finally found his rhythm. And now, for the Pacers, you go from borderline NBA champions to future outlook looking bright to what the hell are you going to do? And now you, in my opinion, could be questioning re-signing Miles Turner, because Miles Turner is a contract that, they obviously want to keep him. He's been a staple of that franchise for multiple years at this point, but he's going to sign this contract, and you're not going to compete for a title next year without Tyrese Halliburton. Then Halliburton's going to come back, and then you're going to be thinking, well, is he 100%? Is he still the same Tyrese Halliburton? There's, the medicine and surgeries has gotten absolutely incredible. From the standpoint, it seems like there's a lot of injuries that are less career-ending. The Achilles, unfortunately, just seems like over and over again, we see guys are able to come back, but there's not a guarantee that they come back as strong as they once were. And you look at Tyrese Halliburton's game, it's all about movement, and it's all about explosiveness, and it's all about shiftiness. And having an injury like that definitely could affect how he plays the game. And it's so sad to think about because this is a young star who is on the verge of becoming a superstar. And on that verge, he tears his Achilles. It's absolutely heartbreaking. It's almost as if you just hope he comes back, and you hope he comes back at the same level because he was bordering on something incredibly special, and the Pacers are bordering on something incredibly special. But where that leaves us now, that Halliburton has torn his Achilles and he's out for next season. Jason Tatum has torn his Achilles. He's out for a majority of next season. Damian Lillard has done that as well. If I'm the New York Knicks, I'm getting on the phone right now and I'm calling Milwaukee and I'm telling them whatever it takes. Whatever it takes to get Giannis Antetokounmpo to New York, we are willing to do. Because I think that you keep Brunson and you try to keep as many depth players as possible, but I'd be willing to give up Karl Anthony Towns and whatever you need to give up in order to get Giannis on your team. Because if the Knicks get Giannis on that roster and they're able to keep some of the core with Brunson and then some of the depth that they have throughout the roster, that is a team that immediately would become the Eastern Conference favorites, in my opinion. I think what the Rockets did with Kevin Durant, I absolutely love it. Rockets were a 2nd seed, were a 2 seed last year with Jalen Green. They add some championship experience with Kevin Durant. This is still a young team with a lot of really good pieces in Houston. I think that a lot of people might look at it as, you're sacrificing a star, a future superstar maybe for an older superstar. To me, you're maximizing your championship window. There's not a guarantee that Jalen Green is going to develop into the best player on the championship team. Kevin Durant, while old, has done that before. I think it's worth the risk. And I do think that Houston is in a situation where even if it doesn't work out necessarily for Durant, there still are plenty of young pieces that can develop into a good team like we've seen with OKC. So I think that OKC is clearly the favorites to repeat next year. I think that the Thunder going to be a really, really good team. I think that's going to be one hell of a competition right now between the Thunder and the Oklahoma City Thunder next year. And I think the East is wide open with Tatum, with Halliburton and Tatum both being injured. And I think that the New York Knicks, man, the iron is hot. They have a ton of momentum from the playoff run that they went on. They need to hire a good coach, and I would pay a king's ransom to go and get Giannis Antetokounmpo and establish yourself as no doubt the top team in the Eastern Conference. All righty, I've been Matt McMaster, and that's been Take 5.